So the struggle over the years is putting all your eggs in the basket of being social or relatable. So how you're seen or how you're praised, how you're disapproved of, makes or breaks you. It makes or breaks your success. And believe me, what other people think or what you think or how you relate socially or what your status is or what people think or what people feel has nothing to do with your success to go forward in a satisfying way in your life. It has to do with paying attention to how to do your task well enough that it works. So I know it's been hard for people. Certain people have been very emotional about everything and emotional about how other people seem to be obstructing them, how other people are not helping them. But believe me, your failure has to do with the task at hand. Nothing else matters. You can make everything personal you want. You can make it personal about someone blaming you or disapproving of you, but believe me, all success comes from doing the task well. So in service, people have been doing service for me over the years in all sorts of capacities, right? And the success of that has always been, have you been motivated to learn and do better at your service? So all the ups and downs, it's never been personal with me. It's always been about this person. Because when you do your job right, it's not about the personal. It's about doing the task right. So if the personal doesn't have much of a say, then you're doing egoless work. If the personal is all having the say, how happy you are or unhappy you are, or how disappointed I seem to be, I'm only disappointed not about you, about the task not being done. And if you're not doing the task, then I'm going to have somebody else who's going to do the task. And it's just that simple. It's never been personal with me because I don't have a personal one, and you don't either. You just think you do, but you don't. You make everything personal, and that's why it doesn't work. That's why all the tasks you need to get done in this life to succeed at your life, they're all quite easy and logical, and they're all going to fall into place. You do one, you get the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one. And then as years go by, say you accomplish 5,000 hikes or 3 shedfuls of art. How do you do that, right? Just one step at a time, paying attention, following the attraction, doing the work. Where is it personal? Where is it about, I'm not a good enough artist, not enough people approve of me, or I'm too good for them, or they don't think I'm good enough, or they think they're too good for me, or whatever, right? Or they're giving me a hard time, so I can't do art now, right? Nothing is personal. It's always the task. So service is always learning about how to surrender your ego and learn and be tentative to the task. So if the task gets done better, then the person says, I want to try this, you want to do this, you could do this for me. And over a long period of time, you get sensitive to the employer or the guru or your mother, whoever you're doing the task for. You become sensitive to how to serve them better or how to do the task better. But their feeling good about you is how well you do the task. It's not if you're hot or old or pretty or messy. It's how you're doing the task. And everything in life is how you live and do your tasks. So you came in this life to accomplish certain things, to get certain tasks done. The question is, are you getting them done? That's where you're going to find your satisfaction, see? If you're getting those tasks done. One of the tasks as a young adult leaving home is you have to secure a decent survival, right? That's one of your tasks. Once that task is accomplished, you might start a family, and then you have to secure their survival. That's another task, right? But if you think those things are about making you happy, You're taking those tasks and you're making it into a personal agenda. Surviving is not personal. It's a task. Having a family is not personal. It's a task. It's all a task. You do it well, then you have a happy family. You do it well by paying attention to the task, you have a good survival. You pay attention to the task, a good family will result from it. Good survival will result from it. A good career will result from it. A good friendship with the guru will result from it. So, you look back and say, well, okay, I did okay here. I didn't do okay here. You can re-examine your life and look where the ups and downs are. And where the ups are is because somehow you stayed to the task and you got better. Where it became chaotic and messy or seemed stopped you from going forward was where you didn't look at the task and see what you needed to do to improve. You made it into a personal game with others, how they were. Remember years ago where everything was falling apart at your job, people were getting really scared and they were starting to leave and people were going to get fired. Yeah. And I said, just stick to the task, go do the best job you can. The dirt will settle. And as it settled, some people got fired, but it was all the logical people that needed to get fired, wasn't it? Yeah. It wasn't random. And the people that were too scared, of their security being messed with, went and found security someplace else. Yeah. And then you were fine. Yeah. And that's happened. Those kind of purgings happen throughout your life. And, like families fall apart, relationships fall apart. But they don't fall apart because the personal self is not being fulfilled. It's because the tasks are not being done by the people in the cooperative unit. It's not because you're being failed at by not being made happy by other people. It's because they're not doing their task, or you're not doing your task, or both of you are not doing your task. And that's why it fails. A lot of marriages end because of money problems, right? Mm-hmm. Now, that's obviously a failure at a task, isn't it? Yeah. So somebody somehow says, I'm not going to do what it takes to make sure I spend money wisely, or I have a good enough job to secure my family, right? Yeah. So because they're too busy what?
Playing personal games with it.
Mm-hmm. Playing personal games, my personal happiness games, right? That's why everything falls apart, because the sense of we're all together, we have this unity, is discarded for this personal sense of personal happiness. So instead of we're all together, we got to make it work, everybody's got to do their part, somebody or more than one individual might have the idea, well, just my personal happiness. I got to get my personal happiness. And if I have to work 5 hours extra a week to help pay the bills, I don't want to do it, because what about my personal happiness? Yeah. That's why everything falls apart there. Because this idea that there is a personal happiness seems to trump over that we're all here together trying to make it work, trying to be satisfied, and that everybody needs to do their part, and is valuable because everybody needs to do their part, because we're all part of the same unity. So the idea is there is no personal one, so how can there be personal happiness? Mm-hmm. So why are there all this division among people? Because no one is seeing that we have to work together to make it. All the family has to work together, right? Everybody has to do their part in the family. At your jobs, everybody has to do their part, or it starts falling apart. But if if somebody's at the job and thinks their job is about their personal happiness, then they make decisions that are not sensitive to everybody there and to the task at hand either. Mm-hmm. They make decisions that just serve their ego and not the sense of this whole place needs to work. We all need to work together. We all need to do our part. So a family is a little unit where you learn that cooperation. A job is another place, or usually it's bigger, where you learn that cooperation. It's not a place where all these individuals go to find their personal happiness. You cannot find personal happiness anywhere without real cooperation. Personal happiness comes that everybody in the family is doing their part and everybody feels happy and secure and they all like each other. As a result, you like each other as a result of that cooperation, and that cooperation is succeeding. That's how you're likable. But if somebody's on top and says, well, I'm just here for my personal happiness and I'm getting mine, I don't care if, about the cooperation and about how we share this and how we all make it work. I'm about my own happiness. Then what happens?
It falls apart.
Falls apart.
Everybody starts fighting.
Yeah. So you can, let's say, you're on a family trip together, and one person says, I don't want to go. What begins to happen?
I don't want to go either.
Yeah. So the lowest common denominator of dissent, of non-cooperation, of everything's about my personal happiness, and I need to have it my way, instead of participating in the cooperation as happiness, dominates. That can't dominate anymore. The world is ruined because personal happiness that assumption has dominated the world. So everybody can be separate, everybody can go off, everybody can make terrible decisions, that affect other people badly in the name of their personal happiness. Mm-hmm. Instead of happiness comes from the result of really being in a unity, really cooperating with each other. And as a result of that, happiness just arrives. You don't have to try to get happy. When you are cooperating, everybody feels satisfied. Everybody feels connected. Everybody feels valuable because everybody's doing their part. So when you're doing your part and you learn to get better at it because the cooperation is valuable to you. So you want to come in giving your best instead of just showing up and saying, where's the free food? Right? So this is how the world is, that this assumption of personal happiness is the only happiness. And it's at the cost of everybody else because it's about you. It's not about you sharing with everybody else or you cooperating. It's just about you getting yours. That philosophy has created many rich people and many starving people. Many people don't have enough water, don't have enough clothes. Some people have, mansions all over the world. All this kind of crazy idea that an individual has a right to personal happiness apart from all the relationships in their culture, all the relationships in the world. That they have a right to personal happiness before that we are in that unity and connected to everything. So, say you're sitting around drinking champagne and say, oh, I got the good life, I got champagne, and nobody else can afford champagne, and you're sitting around drinking champagne, and everybody's looking at you like, oh, we got water, she's got champagne, right? How does that make them feel?
Jealous.
What's that?
Jealous.
Jealous and really separate from them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they're going to want to what?
They want that champagne.
Yeah.
They're going to start a war to get that champagne. So all the wars are all about that. They're not about, we're all one big human being, one big being, and we all need each other to make it work here. We all need each other to cooperate. And in that cooperation, we'll find satisfaction and happiness. In that, in cooperation, you find happiness and satisfaction. Not in the personal ego getting admired or recognized. So the whole thing about a famous movie star, the best artist, that's a bunch of bullshit, isn't it? Because if you do a really good picture, other people do a good picture. And you enjoy their pictures. So why do you get the status of being on top?
Yeah.
You go around and look at all the beautiful art because you love art. And maybe you do beautiful art. But there are lots and lots. You're part of a whole society and a whole culture of artists who love art, who do art. It's not about who's the special one in it. It's all about that love and giving attention and having such a regard for it that you cooperate with the whole art world or with everyone who's musical. If you love music or if you love healing work, you cooperate with all that. So in cooperating with all that, you get to draw on all of it because people say, look, I know how to do this. And you say, I know how to do this. Let's do it and let's make something even more incredibly beautiful. Or let's figure out how to heal people from this. Instead of, oh, I'm the most famous person because I figured this out. And, that's the way the world is now, the assumption of personal happiness as what our life is about. We're barely surviving. There's so many wars. We're barely getting along. We barely have resources because that assumption of personal happiness is ruining the world. There's no such thing as a personal one, so who is there? There's all of you as one great being. And what does that one great being want?
Peace.
Peace, love,
Happiness.
happiness. Yeah. So in coming to a guru to do sadhana, we're undoing that assumption of personal happiness. So if you go to the guru to find your personal happiness, to find your personal enlightenment, well, you're not going to find it because there's no personal one. If you go to anybody at any time to find personal happiness, you won't find it there either. But you will be unconscious as to what the reason is why you're not finding it. But when you come to the guru will say, this is why you're not finding it. And show you how to live in a way without that assumption. And you find when you live without that assumption, you feel, I'm getting happier. I feel more connected to everybody and everything. I feel the problems of my life, of the world, are not overwhelming. They're all easily solvable by what?
Letting go of the propaganda.
Letting go of the assumption of personal happiness. Now you start paying attention. We don't have difficult lives. We just get up and pretty much do the same task. You go to your job, you go to school, right? So while you're at your job or while you're at your school, how do you pay attention to it? If you're doing it through the assumption of personal happiness and personal me, you pretty much overlook what you need to do and get better at. Because getting better at something doesn't really exist in the realm of personal me getting happier, does it? No. So everybody wants to be a great, recognized, special healer or artist, but do they want to sit in their room and look at the lines and figure out how to put them together correctly and look at the lighting and seeing how to use it to make a successful picture? They want to do that every day for hours every day. Do you want to rub people and touch them and make them feel better and release the knots in their body? You want to do that every day without paying attention to how you can do it better.
No. You
No.
don't want to pay attention.
Yeah. But that's how people live, though. They don't get better at things. And what's in the way? Personal happiness, yeah. So how do you get better, at being a social worker, at being a cook, at being a programmer, at being a landscaper, at being a musician, an artist, a student, right? How do you get better? So if any of you are unsatisfied with your lives, it's not, oh, I'm not getting happy, I've been with the guru for years and nothing's working out. It's because you're doing the ego version of spirituality, which is, my ego is going to feel fulfilled, but there's no such one. And there is no way to pursue happiness on the personal level. If everybody shows up at a party and what if I just said, we're having a party, and I don't tell you anything except the time and come over to my house, right? And you're like, should we bring food? I don't know. What should I wear? Should I bring something to drink? But what if I didn't answer any of those questions? And you all showed up, and it turned out that we all had interesting food, and everybody had enough to drink, and everybody was dressed right for the weather, and then everybody, had fun, and How could that happen?
Attention to detail.
What's that?
Attention to detail to everyone.
Everybody was a
The
cooperative
cooperation.
unit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so some people say, well, I'm just going to show up. I'm not going to bother bringing anything. I don't know. You didn't tell us what to bring or why. Right? So, but if everybody was just thoughtful
Yeah.
and thought about,
Figure something out.
yeah, it would just spontaneously show up. And, oh, it's like,
Different foods.
yeah, different foods here. Look. And we got a couple beers and we got some lemonade and we got some sodas. And
Mix, mix.
look. And that's how the world should be occurring, because things are spontaneous most of the time. And yet there's this everyday routine where you can learn how to be spontaneous. See, the everyday routine holds you accountable that you have to show up, you have to do your job, you got to pay attention, get along with people, you have to get better at your job, you know? And then once you feel like you're doing all that, and then you can just show up spontaneously in some event and know exactly what you're bringing, what you're doing there. Instead of like, I'll show up and okay, I didn't know you're supposed to bring water. Huh? What? I forgot money. What? You can't be stunned by life. You know? You have to be able to cooperate and participate. You know? So when you're young, you know, you're learning the ropes, right? And then you sit out in the world and you're learning the ropes of your own survival. And you're learning how to cooperate at your jobs and in your families so that everybody's survival is pleasant, is good, and you're all happy with it. And then that's where the spontaneity starts to happen. Now your energy and your feeling is freed up to be spontaneous. Taking care of your duty and doing it better and better. And then one day you become very spontaneous. You just have a feeling, I'm just going to go over here. And then the most amazing rainbow's over there. Or you go over there and you see this really beautiful person and you start talking to them. And all these wonderful magical events are always happening to you all the time. And people look at you and go, wow, you're kind of amazing. Who are you? And you're like, just a guy. But I'm a guy that's relatable to you. I'm not a guy that's busy with my own personal happiness. I'm a guy that's available to notice you, to be relatable to you. I don't need to possess you. I don't need to own you. I don't need to control you. I just want to see you as you are, without any agenda. And if you put agenda on me, that won't stick either. So, woohoo! It's all spontaneous, right? Is this helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Very beautiful.
So, here's a little talk for tonight. So,
Thank you very much.
because that's how life really works. So once you know how to do the routine's only there to keep things on a good foundation. But after that, it's completely spontaneous. Every moment is magical and spontaneous. See, when I go out by myself, it's always like that. When I'm with you, you're like, personal happiness is not going good. Or, my job, and my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my body, I'm old. It's all that. So if you've done the basic work, then you can free yourself up from this assumption of trying to get happy and just enjoying being happy all the rest of your days. It's not something you have to get to. But you do have to gain entrance into this wonderful spontaneous life of already happy. You have to give up the assumption of personal happiness. It's not about you getting personally happy. Everything is in one beautiful, conscious light unity. It's all radiating love bliss, but you don't notice it because you have an assumption of what happiness is. So you're walking away, so it's right there in your face going, ah! You live like that. You won't look at it. You won't feel it. You won't look at it because you're busy with yourself, right? So, like, why don't you just get to enlightenment now? Why do you have to wait till that personal assumption stuff beats the living crap out of you the rest of your life? You feel terrible, you feel mad, you feel bitter, you feel angry. It's beating the crap out of you, that assumption. But you still love my little personal happiness assumption. I'm a special, separate one.
I share with myself.
Yeah. I'm cooperative with myself. I get everything for myself. Everybody has to look up to me. So the Guru is just here to remind you that that personal assumption is not, the personal one is not real. That assumption is false. It's the cause of all suffering. That you all are rising in a beautiful conscious unity of light that radiates itself as love bliss, but you're not looking at it. You're looking at this assumption, and you're going out and looking at how everything you see is going to give you that. It's already shining happiness, but you can't possess it. You can't own it. You can live in it, you can cooperate with it, but you can't possess it and you can't own it. And you can't use it as status. So what is it good for? Well, to live happily, freely. So this world's pretty like shut down, pretty, kind of unhappy. But you could be happy. That's a lot of really incredible opportunity to be happy. It's so easy to go to a family and everybody's happy, so you get to live in a happy family. But what if you lived in a world where 99 billion people are unhappy and there's 2 happy people? What does it say about those 2 people? Either they're idiots or they're genius. Well, where would you like to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the idiots?
I'll go with the idiots, yeah.
With all the unhappy people? See, we've created a circle in a life where you can be that. But you got to handle your duties, but not as a means to get fulfilled, not as a means to obtain your happiness, but just because it's intelligent and good cooperation and it works. And when you get there, then how the spontaneous magic of this beautiful being of conscious light is living us all as you. So there's no really anybody here except that conscious light being. You all think you're separate one trying to get to it, but there really isn't. And when you act separate, I go, okay. It still really isn't true. But you're also wedded to this big lie, this big contraction. Any questions, any comments about this? Or? So, everybody has the exact same life. You survive until you don't survive. You have relationships, you have some tasks you have to do in this life. Don't let that get in the way of you actually realizing and living a life of spontaneous love and light.